to get demons up out of me. Turn to a beast, eat your arteries. Deceasing opponents so properly. Unleashing the dark side, what got to me. We come to take this shit over. Foot on the gas, hit a motor. Switching my thoughts, I'm bipolar. I stare in the eyes of a cobra. Say you won't smoke, come get it. You wanna play dumb, I'm with it. I'm about to take over the city. I came with my committee gang with it. Came for the bag and the profit. Looking for the wave when we got it. Nigga, you ain't scaring nobody. Bah, bah, that's a whole body. Bah.
On the dark side, it can get cold. It's a cold case. In my right mind, I can ride till I roll race. Still a 10 on my left wrist in that soul place. On my knees, thanking God that He got me through the pain. Danger. I don't fit in, I'm a stranger. Believe I can take out all the evil. Empowerment to all my people. I can prove to you I'm a leader. Run through the money, no visa. Forgive me, cause my life illegal.
Searching for the bag and the prize. On a mission looking for them bad guys. Can't run no player, but my head, I'm real wise. Look at his eyes, why I think he traumatized. Take me as a joke, I'ma hang him on the road. Cause where I'm from, we don't play like that on the outside. Better not free, cause we know you gon' joke. Talk behind my back, where your shots backfire. I know you tried, but you never could survive. I see the fear that's in your eyes. Run like forest, they tryna hide. They criticize in the skies. They know I can only tell the truth. They know all you do is tell lies. I'm about to take over the city, tell me is you with it, cause I know my squad gon' ride.
On the dark side, it can get cold, it's a cold case. In my right mind, I can ride till I roll race. Still a 10 on my left wrist in that soul place.
Hill remains the back at a third and 8.
Thank God that He got me through the pain.
Jackson does a great job at getting it.
I don't fit in, I'm a stranger. Believe I can take out all the evil. Empowerment to all my people. I can prove to you I'm a leader. Run through the money, no visa. Forgive me, cause my life illegal.
Come on, say you won't smoke, come get it. You wanna play dumb, I'm with it. Looking for the wave when we got it. For the wave when we got it. That's a whole body.
Danger. I don't fit in, I'm a stranger. Believe I can take out all the evil. Empowerment to all my people. I can prove to you I'm a leader. Run through the money, no visa. Forgive me, cause my life illegal.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on? It's Victory Monday. My Atlanta Falcons, had to come on. Haven't done this one in a while, but, like I said, Victory Monday. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Falcons. Talked a little bit about them yesterday with some guys over in the UK. I met some guys that, Falcons fans. They do a great podcast over there and get a lot of guys on to talk about them. And I was on that show, so I figured I'd come on today and talk a little bit about the Falcons as well. As you can see, we won yesterday. 43-6. And there's just a few things I wanted to hit on and talk about today. So it's going to be pretty quick recap. But just want to talk about, the keys of the game. Was it a surprise that it was a blowout? Defense stands out, offensive standouts, and if we should keep Raheem Morris. So it'll be pretty quick, but definitely wanted to hit on these points. Pretty happy about the win overall, but, it kind of feels like, a little too late for everything, all that. So I wish, of course, would have been able to do this earlier in the season. If we, like you said, just thinking back on it, we just closed out 2-3 of those games, even the ones that we, fumbled away. Like we're right there in the playoff race in the NFC. But like I said, first, just wanted to hit on the keys of the games. When I was on those guys' show, the first thing I told them was, if we're able to get pressure on Derek Carr, we'll be able to limit Waller and any other weapons they may have. Because rush, I wasn't really worried about. We're like ninth ranked rush defense overall, which is actually pretty good. I didn't think we were that high, but that was pretty good to see in here. And then also, pretty much our blunders have been the passing game. So if we're able to get pressure on Derek Carr, we don't have to really worry about the receivers too much. Darren Waller is their big target, their big guy that they typically target. So I was like, if we're able to get pressure on Derek Carr, will limit his ability to affect the game. And that's exactly what we were able to do from the jump. So defense was the key, and like I said, our blunder has been defense all year. But this game, I thought it might be offense because we're without Julio, we're without Todd Gurley, of course. So that meant Brian Hill and Calvin Ridley, Zacchaeus, Christian Blake, all those guys were gonna have to step up. And overall, as a team, everybody pretty much stepped up and did their part. But like I said, it really just started from the defense, that front seven. That's pretty much where the game was won. We was able to create pressure, force Carr to fumble it twice, throwing pick six to Deion Jones, and then like I said, just was able to limit them offensively. Forgot stat wise, but I forgot we held them under, I think under 200 yards for the game. No, not 200 yards. We were under. Well, I think they ended up starting getting yards towards the end, but we held them under, I believe, like 300 yards for the game. So it was pretty good, given our defensive struggles this year. So keys to the game, pretty much like I said, that was that, and then offensively, the guys was gonna have to step up. Brian Hill, it wasn't really Brian Hill that stepped up; it was Ito Smith, which is the forgotten guy in the running back rotation. I think he was active the last two games, but didn't really see much time on the field, and he had a nice little day. I believe he scored himself a touchdown. He had 12 carries, 65 yards. I also think caught maybe 4 passes in the passing game. So we had 4 for 10. So he had a nice little day on the air and the ground. And then receiving wise, Calvin Ridley, had him a touchdown, 650. It was pretty good. Hayden Hurst 4 for 48. Christian Blake, Jaden Graham, Olamide Zacchaeus, like all those guys got like 1 catch, but they were all active. Matt typically likes to spread the ball around. He was able to do that, like I said, without his top receiver, and Julio Jones. He was able to find other guys to, help them be competitive offensively and put points on the board. So those are pretty much the keys to the game, and they pretty much hit on all those things. That's why the score turned out the way it turned out to be. So overall, was I surprised by this blowout? Not at all. From the very beginning, I said that the Raiders have been playing better football than I guess they typically would, but like I said, they've played close games with the Chiefs, and they've had other games to where they've looked really, really good on offense and defense, but they hadn't impressed me all year at all. Like I said, I know they're right there in the thick of things in the AFC West for a playoff spot. I think they're still 6th or 7th, but to me, they hadn't been that impressive. Their defense had blunders. Their secondary was young, so I knew we could take advantage of that, even with Julio Jones being out. And Derek Carr is still, he's a good quarterback, but he's not one of the elites. Like, you get pressure on him, he's going to turn the ball over, and we saw that yesterday. So I was like, this is a team that could easily be had. A lot of people, I think we was underdogs. We was playing at home. I think we was underdogs by -3, and like I said, it just showed that we shouldn't have been at all. Like I said, they came out and did what they were supposed to do. The guys played with a chip on their shoulder, like they have been doing since Raheem Morris took over. And we obviously could see with the talent that's on this team, they were able to overpower a team like this. Like I said, one that's I guess in the thick of things in the playoff race, but isn't really one of the top tier teams in the AFC. So I was like, I knew they could be had. I wasn't surprised by the blowout at all, especially after the first half was over. I knew pretty much, like I said, from that first half they gained momentum and they were pretty confident. We went to halftime 16-3. They weren't able to move the ball on the ground or in the air. So I knew coming out of halftime, I know typically with the Falcons, you probably don't hear many Falcons fans saying this, typically with the lead, that they felt safe and comfortable with the game being in hand. But personally in this one, I just had a different feeling. I was like, there's no way they're going to, let them start getting rolling on offense by the turnovers and pressure we've created so far. And coming out of halftime, we was able to force a pick six right off the bat. So like I said, I wasn't surprised by the blowout at all. I did think before going into the game, I thought it was going to be a little closer. I think I called the score like 27-24 or 30-24, but I still had the Falcons winning. But overall, it's a solid team win and solid performance by the defense, which because it's going to be a quick show. I'm pretty much going to be moving through it. But my next point, just going through defensive standouts. Everybody pretty much stepped up and did what they were supposed to do. They were trying to pick on AJ Terrell, our corner, or first round pick corner, pretty early. They was going after him. What Ruggs was on him, Aguilar was on him, whoever pretty much was on him. They were trying to pick at him and go after him, but he pretty much held his ground. He held his own. He did a pretty good job. He let Ruggs catch one ball and almost score a touchdown, but he ended up stepping out of bounds, and then the defense was able to make a nice stand to keep them out of the end zone and unforce a field goal. So that was he did a pretty good job on his assignments and doing what he had to do. Each and every week I've seen him grow and become a little bit better and comfortable in that number one spot. And I've been hard on him all year. I was pretty down on the pick when we first got him, if you see my past episodes. But like I say, he's really come on last week, especially after coming off the COVID list. And I forgot where he's ranked at, but it's like PFF rankings. He's I think maybe the number one corner right now out of the rookie class. So he's been doing really well, and I can see him flourishing in this number one spot. He was pretty much thrown in from the jump. He had to come in and start immediately. So it's always going to be times you mess up in coverage or have a slip or a fall, something like that. But it just honestly in the NFL, I see it just takes experience and growth and just playing more and more games for you to be comfortable, especially at the corner position, which I think is probably number one or number two hardest positions to play in football. So I'm really been impressed by him and his performance along with the other guys. Denard was able to come back. I think he came back last week, but came in this week. He had a lot of nice knockdowns, knockaways, a lot of nice coverage on guys on deep balls, especially the one we was playing against Waller. And then also the two guys are two veteran leaders in the secondary, Ricardo Allen and Keanu. They've been playing well as well. So, but of course, I want to talk about a guy that we really haven't called his name much or seen much of him this year. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but Jacob Totori Mariner, number 91. Everybody knows who I'm talking about, but he had him probably the game of his life. He had him a sack, 3 tackles, forced 2 fumbles, and was able to recover one of them, or he might have recovered both actually. So he really stepped up big time in a position that we need people to step up big time, because our edge rush pretty much has been non-existent for years. We got rid of Tech a few weeks ago. Vic Beasley we didn't bring Tech, or my fault, we didn't bring Beasley back this offseason. And ironically, both those guys were playing for the Raiders. I don't know if they suit up or not yesterday. I think both of them are either hurt or on IR, but like I said, we haven't had those guys. Dante Fowler was just coming back off the COVID list as well. And Steven Means, I believe, was forced into that starting role. So it was nice to see that we had some edge rush help, and just, see a guy that we hadn't normally been talking about or mentioning their name pretty much at all the whole season come in and have a really big game for us in a spot that we needed it. So congrats and shout out to number 91, Jacob. Like I said, I'm going to butcher his last name, but Totori Mariner, something like that. But like I said, he had a really big game. And of course, Deion Jones, as always, one of our vets and one of our leaders on the team, had him a nice game as well. He had 3 tackles, 2 assists, and then he also had him pick 6 for a return as well. But like I said, overall, the defense just had him a game that, I know they're capable of having, but hadn't had one all year. So it's really nice to see what Raheem Morris has been able to do with this crew, and kind of just transform them. Because even though I didn't do one of these last week, I wanted to talk about it. That it wasn't the defensive fault that we lost last week. I feel like personally that they played well. Like, to hold the Saints, even if it's Taysom Hill, to hold the Saints to only 24 points with all the offensive weapons that they had back was pretty good job. Like that's enough to give your offense, especially our offense with the talent and caliber of guys that we have, that they held them to a pretty good number to keep us in the game to be able to win last week. So I feel like last week definitely was more so on the offense, on Dirk Cutter, on Matt Ryan. Obviously the offensive line, because they didn't give Matt any type of time to throw the ball, but also Matt, he wasn't quick and decisive like he sometimes is. So like I said, it's really nice to see this turnaround that Raheem Morris has been able to put into this defense. And also Jeff Ober, I don't want to leave him out as well. He's really stepped up big time as a defensive coordinator, and has been more aggressive in calling more and better plays than when Quinn was at the head. So really good job by those guys last few weeks, and shout out to them for putting on the performance that they did yesterday. Moving on to the offensive standouts real quick. Like I said, we was definitely without our top guys and Julio Jones and Todd Gurley, which would have helped yesterday. But we obviously could see, like we said, we have guys that can step up and fill roles. That makes it even better. Like I said, they could just step up and fill the roles, and perform just like those guys are capable of performing. Like I said, Calvin Ridley, Zacchaeus, Russell Gage. Sorry, I forgot about him. Brian Hill, Edo Smith, all those guys are capable of stepping in and producing as well. So it was nice to see that they were able to step up and fill in their roles. But we also can't forget about our guy Koo. Koo definitely had a big game yesterday, scoring 19 of our 43 points. He was able to, of course, knock down all 5 of his field goal attempts and, like I said, 19 points. So he had him a day. So shout out to Koo. And then Matt Ryan, our leader, of course, played his 200 game. Forgot how many. I think it's maybe only 4 or 5 players in our franchise that played 200 games, but he had him a nice little day as well. I believe he had two. Yeah, let me bring it up real quick. He had 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, unfortunately, but he only threw for 185 yards. But luckily, in this type of game, we didn't really need him to throw for 300, 400 like he normally would. But he said without having a deep threat in Julio, they probably keyed in on Calvin Ridley a lot, and then the other guys are able to find their spots and get some underneath catches and stuff like that. So it was really nice, like I said, to kind of take a load off of him, just because, like I said, we're so used to him throwing 300 plus yards a game and having to throw it maybe 40, 50 times a game, even though he did throw it 39 times. But like I said, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He did enough to give us a lead and put us in a position to win the game. Especially one key throw. I'm glad he was more decisive on it. And it was also with an assist from Calvin Ridley. But when we was in the red zone, it's been so many times this year we're in the red zone, we're not able to score and put points on the board. But he was able to find Calvin Ridley in the back of the end zone and make a decisive and quick throw in times where he may bring it down and just take that sack and not throw it away. It was nice to see that he was able to trust this guy and throw him the ball. And, that put us up 13-3. So it was really nice and cool to see that he was able to make a decisive decision on that play. And like I said, real quick show, but I just wanted to move on. That was off standouts, defense standouts. And then just wanted to talk about Raheem Morris because I talked a little bit about it on the other guys' show yesterday in their pregame and their postgame show. They just, kind of was talking about who we should bring in as our GM, who we should bring in as our head coach next year. And, of course, the subject of Raheem Morris came up because he's got these guys playing a lot better. But there's also been talks of like him having clashes with Dirk Cutter. If Raheem stays, does Dirk Cutter come back? Anybody knows me, I don't like Dirk Cutter, and I pray to God like he's nowhere near this team next year. So I personally, I guess I just want to touch on this. Should we keep Raheem Morris? I feel like, well, first things first, I was like, if Dan Quinn gets fired, this is the only guy I really trust to head this team and hopefully push him in the right direction. Which, like I said, since he's taken over, we're 4-2, and really should be probably 5-1. But we're 4-2, and like I said, been making strides on the defensive end, and just been looking better as a whole. They're learning how to finish games a little bit better. Play calling is getting a little better on both sides of the ball as well. And like I said, they're producing games like this. Like I said, to ones where we were expecting in the beginning of the season, where we were able to get out to a lead and finish the game and put it away. And this was an example of it yesterday. So personally, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I would want, as an African American, young African American man, and then him being a young African American coach, where he's been a head coach before in Tampa Bay, he's been in our organization for 5 years. I would want nothing more for him to have an opportunity to interview for this or any head coaching spot at all, because I feel like, of course, that's what we need more of in the league. There's two right now, maybe 2. Yeah. Romeo Cornell, I guess he counts as the third one now, but I think it's 3 African-American head coaches right now in the NFL. And or 4, I guess, with these 2 being the interims. But like I said, we need more representation as a whole. So I want nothing more for him to have that opportunity. It's just that I don't know or feel like I just don't feel like for this organization at this time, it should be with us. I would want it and need it. I would love for it to be somewhere else. I just think like we can't have any remnants or any specks of any type of Dan Quinn coaching staff within this organization anymore. If we're, whether it's we want to, tear everything down and rebuild, or if we feel like we still have the pieces to put together a winning team next year. I feel like all the brotherhood stuff, anybody that was under Coach Quinn that's still on this coaching staff, I feel like they, good luck somewhere else. I know they probably will get, looks and calls and a job opportunity somewhere else, but I just don't feel like for our organization at this time that we need to have any specks of Dan Quinn at all. I feel like we just have to start fresh, start anew. Like I said, it don't matter what direction we're going in. I just feel like it has to be with, a new head coach, new GM, just all new staff. It can't be any remembrance of, this brotherhood stuff, because I feel like that's dead and it's been dead. And we need a new voice. We need new change. We just need a new mindset, offensively, defensively. Just start from scratch from the coaching staff. And I said Raheem Morris has definitely came in and he's doing a great job with what he's had. All the rumors and everything that's been swirling around with this team. Keeping that noise out of the building and be able to keep it straightforward, keep a head straightforward, and then just put together a team that's going out there and competing and winning. Because we see this year with the Jets, 0-11 at this point. There's just no heart, no anything, no signs of life from that organization. So it's nice to see with us that's not happening, because we could have easily tanked after going with 0-5, 0-6, could easily have tanked and continue to play losing brand of football and have a top pick. But that's not what the Atlanta Falcons organization is about. That's not what we had in mind coming into the season, and that's not how they're going to finish. So overall, I just think we don't need any Dan Quinn, anybody on the Dan Quinn tree in our organization anymore, unfortunately. And like I said, it's unfortunate that it has to be Raheem, because I really like Raheem as a coach. And he's been in our organization forever, and also used to be a head coach in Tampa, but I just don't think is the right fit for us right now. Like I said, I love what he's done with the team so far, but I just think that opportunity has to come from somewhere else. I will say though, if they do keep him, I won't be upset about it. I just hope it's not like a repeat of what happened last year. We had a terrible 1-8 start, and then we finished the end of the season 6-2, which is why start 0-8, something like that, and then finish the season 6-2 or 5-2 rather. Sorry, and that's why Dan Quinn got his opportunity this year. I just hope it's not one of those repeat type situations, which I don't think it will be, because unlike last year, the back half of our schedule is the harder part of our schedule. So if we are able to chip out some wins and get some wins against these big teams, say we split with the Bucks, get a win next week against the Saints, have a close game, or even beat the Chiefs, then I can understand why they would look at him and bring him back, and I wouldn't be upset about it at all. Versus last year, we played a lot of below 500 teams, ones that weren't making it to the playoffs, and was able to scrape out 5 wins. So, it was it'd be more understandable if they brought him back this year than last year. So, or more so understandable if they brought back Raheem Morris for this upcoming season rather than what they did with Dan Quinn last year. So, just moving on, hit the last little point I want to talk about next week with our rematch with the Saints. I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive. I feel like this time around we'll have a full week of prepping for Taysom Hill, even though I feel like they should have been still a little bit more prepared last go around when we played them for him. But this time we'll have a full week of scouting. We'll have tape on him from our game, and of course the game he just had with Denver, which he played terrible. I believe both quarterbacks combined for 91 yards passing, and I don't think any passing touchdown. So I think it was one of the quickest games, one of the quickest 4:00 games in NFL history. So I think we'll be definitely a lot more prepared for him this time around. on the ground for sure, because he got 2 rushing touchdowns against us, and then we'll be able to limit any type of air raid that he may have. So, and this one's at home, so I think we'll be, like I said, a little bit more prepared. Hopefully, the offensive line is up for the challenge, because that's the biggest matchup. The biggest key to this game is the offensive line versus their defensive line. That's what happened. They got 8 sacks on this last time. I don't think any team is going to win with their quarterback getting sacked 8 times and not be able to get any type of throws off. So hopefully they're able to, figure out, or not even figure out. There's nothing to figure out. Like, I feel like in the trenches, it's just like man on man type thing. Like, you have one man in front of you, and you have to dominate that one man to keep your quarterback safe. So I believe that's where the game is probably going to be won and lost, just like it was last time. I think the defense did enough to win the game last time. So, offensively, we just have to step up. Our offensive line has to step up. Hopefully we have Julio back and Ty Gurley back. That'll help a lot. And, on our offensive attack. And like I said, if the offensive line plays better, I think it'll just be a lot closer game as a whole. So offensive line able to man up, protect Matt, and we're able to get our guys back, then we should be all good to go. Hopefully in this one. So that's kind of what I'm thinking and previewing. I think it'll still be a close game overall. They've been playing really great football all year, and they feed off each other's energy. So if the defense gets after us early again, that's just going to fuel the offense, and they're going to just get more confidence, grow more confidence, and then like I said, take over the game like they did last time. Because last time the game was pretty close. Like I said, we went to halftime 10-9. They scored the last second touchdown, unfortunately, going to half, and then got the ball coming out of half. But it wasn't a blowout from the start. It was a close game throughout, especially in the first half. So I believe offensively, if we just tighten up a few things on offensive line, then we should be fine. We should be good to go. It's in our Mercedes-Benz Stadium this time, so they should have a little bit of chip on their shoulder to come back and play a little bit more better than what they did, because I think we weren't fully prepared offensively for Taysom Hill. I don't think that offensively we weren't prepared for how much the defensive line was going to get after them, how many stunts they were going to run, and how just how aggressive I guess they were going to be from the very start. I think, or not from the very start, but I think this New Orleans Saints defense always feels like they have an edge over our offensive line, and I can understand why. So, like I said, it just at some point our offensive line has to buck up, man up, and they have to eventually protect Matt Ryan. Like I said, I think I talked about it with the guys on the episode yesterday, but Matt Ryan has had to play with a makeshift offensive line pretty much his whole entire career. Only within the last 4 years, he's had a little bit of consistency with Jake Matthews and Alex Mack. So I guess another thing I just thought about it, Carpenter got hurt yesterday. So I think Hennessy's probably going to have to step up in his spot, and hopefully he's up for the task. He's up for the starting job, either him or Gono. I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to shift him, who's going to play what position, but whoever it is, I hope they're ready to go, and hopefully able to keep those guys off of Matt Ryan this game. So that's pretty much what I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be a really good game, really good matchup. Hopefully we're just able to play spoiler a little bit. If we're able to beat them, I think the Packers will be right back in it for that number 1 seed, and it'll be really cool to, really cool just to be spoiler for a change like we were yesterday with the AFC Raiders, because that's pretty much what we're going to have to be all year, just spoilers. So, hey, what team is in the first place in the NFC? At least right at this moment. What's up, Dad? Appreciate you for tuning in again. But this isn't a show about the New York Giants. This is Atlanta Falcons fly through. I don't like to talk about the Giants. I don't like to talk about the NFC East at all. So I guess congrats to you guys. It's probably going to change next week. Like I said, I'm just waiting for Daniel Jones to flop. He's going to do something, to cost the team in some way, shape, or form. He probably throw 3 picks next week. So, I guess enjoy it for a week, but it's pretty much done deal. I don't think the Giants. I honestly think the Washington Redskins are probably going to win the NFC East at this point. I think they just had the more experienced quarterback. They got the better front seven, and we saw what Gibson did. Terry McLaurin is a standout receiver in his second year, and I think overall they just got the better continuity. They got a more experienced head coach as well. So I think personally, they'll end up closing out. They'll win. And I think they got the easier schedule out of all the teams in the NFC East remaining as well. So I feel like they'll be the ones closing it out and winning this division, which is crazy to say and think. But, who knows? I just know it's going to come down to the last game, and Daniel Jones is going to do something to mess it up. So that's we swept them. I don't care if y'all swept them. Y'all swept them when they didn't have Smith quarterbacking them. They had it might have been Dwayne Haskins the first time, and then they had Smith for like the second time. So I say that, and that's where 2 of your 4 wins come from. But I personally think, like I said, Daniel Jones is going to mess it up. Like I said, I guess Giants have been playing better overall. Their head coach has them playing better, a little bit more sound on both sides of the ball. But personally, I think the Redskins are just going to pull it out. They just have more experience everywhere, and they have the better front seven and better defense as a whole. So that's my take on the NFC East. I won't spend too much more time on them. That's pretty much it for them in this show. So pretty much just going to wrap it up. Like I said, thank everybody for tuning in. I don't think I was able to really share it, but I'll end up sharing it afterwards. Leave your comments. Follow me on Twitter at WTGMTM Podcast. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on next week's games. If you think we should keep Raheem Morris. Anything Falcons talk. Like I said, that NFC East thing was just a 2-minute little segment because of my dad, but won't be talking about them anymore on this show. But appreciate you for tuning in, of course, as always. You can also follow me, watch the recap of this on Facebook at What the Game Means to Me, and also on Instagram as well at What the Game Means to Me. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'll try to do one of these next week. I'm glad it's a Victory Monday for me. I guess a Victory Monday for my dad as well. And hope everybody stays safe, and see you next time.